An important piece of Grand Rapids history is up for sale.
It's the Rogers Homestead. Local historians know the name as one of the oldest families to have settled in Grand Rapids.
I had the chance to talk with the great-great-granddaughter, the area's last Rogers family member still living in the home, and got a tour. You're probably already familiar with the Rogers name, like Rogers Plaza, for instance, in Wyoming, where stores line 28th Street, or maybe Rogers Lane Elementary, where hundreds and hundreds of children learned their ABCs. But nestled in the midst of all that on a wooded 2-acre parcel is an historic treasure, what's believed to be the oldest existing home in Wyoming and perhaps Kent County.
Justice Rogers came to the area in 1835 from Vermont. And, there's a story about him building a house here and a tornado coming in and tearing it down. But he immediately, in 1836, started rebuilding.
1836, a year before Michigan even became a state, and back when all that was here was an Indian settlement and the Campout Trading Post, depicted in this early drawing from the Grand Rapids Public Library. Tell me how your family ended up in Grand Rapids.
My great-great-grandfather, Justice C. Rogers, waited until the Erie Canal opened up, and he and his bride brought their possessions on the Erie Canal to Homestead in the west.
Rogers says, according to family lore, Justice Rogers had to actually widen the Indian trails to accommodate his ox cart as he forged his way west and settled on a beautiful 160 acres and began working that property to earn a land grant signed by none other than the president himself, Martin Van Buren.
Here it is describing the property given to Justice C. Rogers, signed by Martin Van Buren with a presidential seal. This, to date, is the only purchase deed in existence for the property.
What started out as 160 acres is now down to just over 2 acres where the house stands. The post and beam home was actually moved in the 1950s by rolling it on logs to make way for future shoppers on 28th Street.
The subdivision was developed plat by plat. The mall, of course, Michigan's first indoor mall, was developed on the old farm property.
Inside, many of the original details remain, like handcrafted beadboard, latch handles, windows, and turned railings, even the original skeleton key to the front door.
In all these years, it astonishes me, this key has never been lost. All the generations of Rogers kids that have grown up and used this door, and here we still have the original key that works the deadbolt on the front door.
When the house does sell, Rogers says it'll be an incredibly emotional goodbye, but what makes sense now is being closer to her children. More Rogers descendants that chose to move even further west. So now it's time for a whole new family to enjoy what has proven to be an incredibly strong home.
The fact that it has remained so solid and plumb despite a fire, despite being moved, it was built to last, and it has.
That's amazing.
Isn't it? 1836. Yeah.
Hopefully they find a great buyer for it.
That's right.
To see it change.
Time for a new family.